because participants prepare as per their convenience. The response should be recorded.
That is what we want to know. What is there in mind? We are giving them written questions. We are asking them. That is not way. What is there in their mind? Only we have studied with past rank OBS. It should be also studied in the other MBBS classes.
But ultimate objective is assessment, not their preference. What is the objective?
This has come out. This has come out. There has been no manipulation in this study. I tell you. It's 12 questions only. Both for components, 3 components. So like that I discussed and then explained and then gave the questions.
Sir, did you ever try rather than our college students, your students? So the questionnaire would have been the questionnaire would be the same, but their attitude would have been different definitely, sir.
This study was a study like this conducted in India. We have sourced. There has been sorry to say we didn't get a similar study.
But I think you can compare better results with students outside your college and not initiation.
For that, we will be needing more time and we will try for sure.
Maybe that's a good idea.
Thank you very much for the time.
Pilot study only.
Yeah, thank you very much. Certificate from the co-chair. Last 2 papers that have.
Good afternoon, I am Dr. Haritya, first year medicine PG. My topic for discussion is study on endocrine dysfunction in diabetes. This is a very new and upcoming topic, and various researches are being conducted in different parts of the world and in India. Now, according to Harrison, diabetes is assuming different properties globally, more so in India. It is projected by the year 2030, India would emerge as a diabetic capital of the world. The mortality and morbidity of diabetes are mostly attributed to the micro and macrovascular complications. Now, endothelial dysfunction may be the initializing and critical factor for diabetic vascular disease. Now, as you all know, endothelium lines the lumen of all vasculature, and it has the following functions: it is dilatation and constriction of a blood vessel, growth inhibition and promotion of vascular smooth muscle cells, antithrombosis and prothrombosis, anti-inflammatory and pro-inflammatory activities. Normal endothelium, it balances these opposing effects to ensure proper blood supply and regulation of inflammation and coagulation. So now, these are the chemical mediators which help in the endothelial function: vasoconstriction, endothelin, angiotensin II, thromboxane, vasodilatation, nitric oxide, and bradykinin. Now, this is the mechanism of nitric oxide mediated vasodilatation. When there is an increase in shear stress, endothelium cells release nitric oxide from the precursor of L-arginine. Now, this released nitric oxide diffuses into the smooth muscle cell and causes relaxation, which in turn causes vasodilatation. So now, what exactly is endothelial dysfunction? Any alternation in the functions of which are previously said is called endothelial dysfunction, which can be either increase or decrease of the functions. For example, abnormal vasoconstriction, growth promotion, increase in prothrombosis, and pro-inflammatory activity. Now, what is the mechanism of endothelial dysfunction in diabetes? Now, since diabetes is in hyperglycemic state, hyperglycemia induced increase of diacylglycerol and activation protein kinase C causes impaired vasodilatation and increased proliferation of vessels. And there is decrease of nitric oxide production in action, which causes impaired vasodilatation. And oxidative stress, which causes decreased production of nitric oxide, hyperactivity of smooth muscle cell, and increased pro-inflammatory molecules. The most commonly accepted endothelial dysfunction is impairment of vasodilatation effect. Now, the measurement of endothelial dysfunction method, distensibility of vessel wall, is by catheterization and ultrasound Doppler. Catheterization is actually gold standard, but it is invasive, costly, and is not available in all centers. And Doppler ultrasound, it is non-invasive, simple, widely available, and accurate measurement of vessel diameter can be done. Since it has more advantages, ultrasound Doppler is used in the study. Aim of the study: to study endothelial dysfunction using non-invasive technique of brachial artery flow mediated dilation by Doppler, and to compare endothelial dysfunction in diabetic population and control. Material method: inclusion criteria: 60 patients of type 2 diabetes mellitus hospitalized and attending OPD in MIMS for a period of 2 years of both sexes between the age group of 30 to 75 years. Consider the material. And diabetes mellitus was diagnosed according to the ADA criteria, that is symptoms of diabetes plus RPS greater than equal to 200 milligram per deciliter, FDS greater than equal to 126, HbA1c greater than 65%, 6.5%, and 2-hour plasma glucose greater than equal to 200 milligram per deciliter. Exclusion criteria: type 2 diabetes and other comorbid conditions likely to influence endocrine dysfunction like smoking, alcohol, hypertension, congestive heart failure, liver disease, renal disease are excluded. Procedure: endocrine dysfunction was assessed by flow-meter dilatation of right brachial artery by color Doppler, and data was collected from 60 diabetic patients and 30 control, and statistical analysis underway. Now, what exactly is flow-meter dilatation? As I already explained earlier, when there is an increase in blood flow in the vessel, there is an increase in shear stress because of Starnell's law, and then the endothelium releases nitric oxide, which causes dilatation of the vessel. Now, the method: flow-meter dilatation. Brachial artery diameter is measured, that is 2 to 15 centimeters above the elbow, that is the baseline diameter, after which a BP cuff is applied in the proximal forearm, 5 minutes. And then brachial artery diameter is again measured 60 seconds after the release. Now this is a Doppler done in our college, in which the brachial artery diameter before compression is 2.26 mm and after compression is 2.67 mm. So in the calculation, FMD is calculated in percentage, diameter 2 minus diameter 1 into 100, and severe endocrine dysfunction is defined as FMD less than 2.5%. Now comparison: FMD is significantly reduced in study group compared to control group, and endocrine dysfunction is prevalent in 30% of diabetes when compared to control. Summary and conclusion: in the present study, there is significant impairment of flow-meter dilatation in diabetics when compared to normal subjects, and endocrine dysfunction, which is a reversible change, is a key event in atherosclerosis and appears long before the atherosclerotic changes. Thus, assessment of endocrine dysfunction helps in early detection and treatment of complications associated with diabetes. These are my references.
Next is Dr. Mahesh now.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to present an interesting case of generalized redundant colon and right side hypophyseal sigmoid, endocarcinoma of rectosigmoid region. The unusual presentation of a rare anomaly. Redundant colon is refers to abnormally lengthy colon. This abnormality is due for individual person. This abnormality can be classified based on the segments involved. Usually it involves sigmoid colon most commonly. Redundant colon is of most clinical and surgical importance. A 60-year-old female patient presented with pain abdomen after bowel movement for 5 months. On screening ultrasound, we found that the bowel wall thickness right side to bladder in right iliac fossa. We thought it as a EITs or any malignancy. So we advised for colonoscopy. On colonoscopy, they found mass at rectosigmoid region, and on biopsy it revealed as adenocarcinoma. Then that case came for mesenteric artery. After that, descending cecum descent, and finally fixation of mesentery. So you can see here after completing 270 degrees of rotation, cecum is at subhepatic position, and after that it's going downwards. So in third part of development is fixation. So in fixation, both ascending and descending column peritoneum is fixed. So both organs become retroperitoneal. So according to the mechanism involved, anomalies of colon divides into anomalies of rotation and anomalies of fixation, anomalies of descent and anomalies trunk. This anomalies of rotation mainly involves malrotation and non-rotation. So in this case, there is no anomalies of rotation because this duodenum, transverse colon and superior mesenteric artery anatomy is normally maintained. Duodenum is posterior and superior mesenteric artery in middle, and transverse colon is anterior. So anomalies of fixation, you can see persistent mesocolon of ascending colon. So this is hypofixation, this anomaly is called. And anomalies of descent, you can see cecum is descended, hyperdescent, means it's entered into colon, it's in midline. Then anomalies of length, In this case, his colon is abnormally lengthy, so it forms loops around to accomplish in abdomen. So it forms double hepatic flexure, double splenic flexure, and then cecum also sigmoid colon goes to right side. So other anomaly is absent appendix. Absent appendix mainly three causes: congenital absence, equal growth of appendix and cecum. So this is auto amputation. In this case, most probably due to equal growth of both cecum and appendix. And inferior mesenteric vessels going towards right side. In embryologically, vessels goes with the organ which they supply. So in that aspect, sigmoid colon is on right side. So inferior mesenteric vessels went to right side. So right side sigmoid colon. In Coriel and all, respect in the study that common in children, but it's very rare in adults. For that connection, they are explained its embryological basis. In his study, case number 15 almost looking similar to my case, and clinical significance involves its hepatocolic fistula and abnormal bowel habits. These are the previous two cases present. In this case, why it's unique means in the previous two cases cecum is in subhepatic position, but in this case its cecum is in pelvis, it's midline. So salient features all the anomalies in this case: normal rotated bowel, general patent colon with presence of mesocolon, double hepatic flexure, double splenic flexure, right side sigmoid colon is posterior to ascending colon and fixed posterior abdominal wall, inferior mesenteric vessels on right side, hyperdescent cecum and absent appendix. So final diagnosis for this case: generalized redented colon, right sided retrofixed sigmoid with adenocarcinoma of rectosigmoid region and absent appendix. So final take home message is right side sigmoid colon is common in children, but it's very rare in adults. This is the 5th case presented.
Thank you, Mahesh. The paper is open for discussion.
Right-sided sigmoid colon, common in children, but very rare in adults. How common is it in children? If so, how often does it present as a symptomatic disease or regenerative colon? What is the first thing? How often do we come across it?
In one study, children they found that 44% of children they have right-sided sigmoid colon. So before 5 years, it's very common. So it's not, there is no any abnormality. While child is growing, that sigmoid is will comes to the left side after 5 years. Automatically comes to left side. So they assume that after 5 years it will happen. Before 5 years, it's very common in children.
That is whatever the congenital abnormality. Get rectified automatically.
Actually, that is not anomaly. That the sigmoid part is growing more faster than remaining colon. So to accomplish in abdomen, it will goes to right side in children. While child growing, abdomen size will increase and it comes to left side. So there is it's due to space problem only. There is no anomaly in children.
Sir, how often have you found in radiology this type of presentation? Or even in students who come across several times, they will be doing several studies. You will be doing several things.
Okay.
How often you come across this right-sided sigmoid?
In children below 5 years, we can see very commonly, sir.
So it is a common finding, not an uncommon.
Uncommon finding for children. But if it is persistent, it's a 60-year-old lady. If it is persistent after 5 years also, then it's anomaly. You can look for any congenital anomaly, other associated anomalies and all.
Thank you.
After 5 years, it's not common. Very rare, very rare issue. That's why he has presented the case. And secondly, there is absence of appendix. Secondly, it is associated with adenocarcinoma sigmoid colon. For these two reasons, I operated the patient. We remember what happened. As a pediatric surgeon, let me tell you, in the first 2 years of life, 50% of the patient will have right-sided sigmoid. We don't know the reasons. I didn't review the exact history, but as adult grows and your food habits, see sigmoid volvulus, it's main common with maize eating. I think someone right from the Murali Krishna. Anything right colon, because it is his branch. He is doing colonoscopy day in, day out. Fortunately, is here.
Comment by gastroenterologist, he will be the right person also.
The association what you have done is identifying the sequence of adenoma carcinoma sequence, which is not seen in India. We don't see that adenoma slowly developing to classrooms, and 75% of them are in the left column. So we do agree that the common malignancy in the colon is most common in the left side, which is about 75%. And we don't have that sequence, which we are yet to identify what's the sequence, why our patients are having more. And then I think these kind of observations will lead us to some clinical proof. We congratulate on that.
Thank you, Murali Krishna garu. Photo, madam.
After the lunch. Now I request Dr. Narayan Raju sir to give us the certificate for chair. Sir, announcement. Sir, I request Dr. Narayan Raju sir to give the certificate for the chairperson. Thank you. So, Dr.
For lunch, students will have lunch in the Biochemistry dinner room here in opposite this venue, and faculty will have lunch in the registration area, same place where we had our teas. And we start the post-lunch session sharp by 2:30. PGs and UGs are going to have an interesting quiz wherein there will be prizes for each correct answer. So they are requested to come back 15 minutes earlier, sharp by 2:15. So come back early.
Brief session. This is more of a build for so that people look up and we can